Happy Pride, cuties! It is Pride in Montreal, and this is my favorite time of the year, so I hope you're having a wonderful time. Welcome to QT Connect Cafés, where we tell stories about everything queer and tech. I'm Naufal, co-founder at QueerTech, and your host. As you know, QueerTech is based in Teotihuacan, Montreal, and we would like to begin by acknowledging that QueerTech is located on the unceded indigenous land. The Kanya-Kainahi Nation is recognized as the custodians of the land and the water on which we gather today. So this is going to be a special edition, as you might have seen, and I'm really excited to bring to you this topic that is really crucial to build a strong and sustainable community, a topic that we nearly never talk about, right? It's our personal finances. Some of us learn it from parents, friends, but most of us are left to figure it out on your own. And so over the next 18 months, we will be doing a quarterly webinars in French and in English around different topics on your personal finances and how you can plan for the future. And I'm really excited that we partner with a team at Sun Life to be doing these series with you, and you'll meet them today. Before we jump in, I would like, as usual, to thank RBC for presenting these series, and also our annual partners, Sage, Unity Technologies, Sun Life, Ubisoft, VanHack, SpaceSafe, and Local Logic. As you know, our job board is live. So for those who are looking for a job in tech or looking to advance their career in tech, you can go to queertech.org/job. And if you need any help to connect with our partners on that board, you can reach out to me at naufel@queertech.ca. So before we get started with our guests, for those who have any questions or comments throughout the duration of the live stream, you can write your question on the comments box in the social media outlet that you are watching us on. You can also tag anyone who is looking for financial advice or need to learn more about their personal finances on the chat comments. So for those who love what we do and really enjoy these series, you can support QueerTech by donating on our website, queertech.org. We really appreciate all the donations from the community. They keep us going and keep this series alive. So in this edition, and without further ado, I would like to introduce you to three guests that will be joining us today to talk a little bit about finances. So Jeffrey, Fernanda, and Julien will be joining us. Welcome to the show. You may reveal yourself. I love this introduction. Like you're on a red carpet. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Naufel. Good afternoon.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, as I always start, I'm Naufel, my pronouns and he and him. I would like for each one of you to do a quick introductions and tell us your pronouns.
Sure,
Jeffrey,
I'll start.
Yeah, you can start. Go ahead.
Jeffrey, and my pronouns are he, him.
Wonderful. Fernanda?
Okay, so it's Fernanda, and pronouns are she, her.
Thank you. Julien?
So I'm Julien or Julien, and my pronouns are he or him. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. So as usual in this series, we love to get to know our guests who are joining us today. So I'm going to start with Fernanda, and I just want to go a little bit to the beginning of your life. So tell us a little bit where your story began. Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? All that fun stuff.
Okay, so I'm from Mexico. I lived in Mexico City my whole life. Instead, for 5 years, I moved to Acapulco in Mexico as well. So I lived my life there until 24. I went to school in Mexico City.
Mhm.
I went to school at university there, and afterwards, I did a diploma as well in Australia. So,
Wonderful. Wonderful. Mexico City is one of my favorite cities. It's amazing. I love it so much.
Really?
Julien, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So me, I'm from France, like you may hear when I'm talking. So I'm from south of France. I grew up in a small town close to Montreal in south of France, so close to the sea. And then at 18, I decided to go to an engineering school actually in Lyon. And I have now an engineering degree in food science. So if you have any question about like how to make chicken nuggets, for example, don't ask me because it's disgusting. But but that's what I know. Like
I feel like I have a million questions already, but we'll try to stick to finance today. But thank you. Jeffrey, tell us about yourself.
Sure. So I grew up in Beijing, China, and then for high school, I went to UK, London by myself, and I came to Montreal for my undergrad studies at McGill. So I stayed in Montreal since then with my common law spouse, Enzo. So I went to McGill and I actually studied industrial relations and psychology. So it's actually not finance related. So so industrial relations has a lot of like management courses. So I had a basic understanding of accounting and finance. But later, like went to McGill's continuing education for taxation courses, and then got my financial planner designation through an institution called IQPF. It's a designated school for financial planners in Quebec.
Yeah, I love it. I'm from Morocco originally also, so I love that, we're all immigrants that moved here and now we're sharing all this knowledge with the community here. I love also that you all have different career paths, but you end up in finance and finance advising. And I'm going to start this time with Julien. I want to hear a little bit like, how did you get into financial advising, and, how did your career journey kind of impacted the path that you're on today?
Finance has always been like something in my life anyway. On a personal level, I've always been pretty good, and like you said at the beginning, it's about like the parents mainly. I mean, for me, I think that nobody's helping you really on a daily basis except your family. So it comes from there, but I never really worked in finance until I ended up in Montreal in 2010. I think that me arriving in Montreal, you just say like we're all immigrants, and arriving in Montreal was like the beginning of my new life. I was 25 and I actually started a job at Starbucks, and I stayed there just for a few months, but they made me feel like so comfortable, the team there, etc., that it changed my life completely. And that's why I feel so good in Montreal now since 10 years. Then on the finance level, it's just, like a regular path. Like I said, I loved it. And I started to work in a foundation in Montreal first. And so I was touching a lot like money, etc. And then I worked in a bank in Toronto. And naturally, I love helping people and giving advice, etc. So naturally, I went to that. So
that's wonderful. And usually, to become a financial advisor, you do some certification. Is that correct?
Exactly, like Jeffrey just said, we have to pass a certification. Like it's not just I want to be a financial advisor and I will be able to do that. So it's not like you don't have to have a master or whatever, but still you still have to pass some exams, etc.
Can you tell us what are the certifications that you have?
Jeffrey, you want to jump in on that? Exactly.
Sure. Like so we have, so each one of us has different certifications actually. Like so for me, I am a financial planner, so that actually requires years of trainings, and you have to have an undergrad studies in related field, and then go through like 10 different courses, and then there's a 3-month like intense course, and then a final exam. So that's like kind of hard to get. But we like also we have the, as a firm and also as individuals, we have the certification for financial security advisor. So like we can advise on insurances. We are also certified for mutual funds, so for the investment side. For Julien and I, we're also certified for group, so we can work with employers to implement and administer their group plans and also their pension plans. And for Julien, there's something super cool. He is also a responsible investment specialist. So he actually studied like about responsible investments. So we'll see that in a lot of what we advise on the investment side, we actually not only talk about the performance, but also to fit your values.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I'm really excited then in our future webinars we'll tackle. I know a lot of people from the community that we talk about really want to make sure that even the money that they're investing, that's going towards a responsible investment. So it's going to be really excited to do that. Jeffrey, talk to us a little bit. So I love that, you studied psychology and then you kind of made it into the world of finance. How did you make that decision? And talk to us also about your career journey going through that.
For sure. So I think a lot of people, like they join a career because of opportunity, and maybe it's not a very conscious choice at the time. But for me, I always know that I really like working with people. And also so that's why I studied psychology and also industrial relations. At the time, I actually wanted to be a psychologist. I wanted to there's a very niche specialty of psychology called industrial and organizational psychology. So that's what I want. I actually almost did a PhD in it. But in my third year at McGill, I did an internship at Sun Life. So it was an HR related internship. But because of that role, I did get to know a lot of managers and people that are more in the field, they are working with clients, and they I guess they see some qualities in me that would qualify me to be a potentially a good advisor. So they recruited me to be an advisor. So it was a lot of self-education, a lot of continuing education. I had to take a lot of courses to be who I am today. But I'm really happy to be in this career because money is a very intimate subject, and we actually get to touch upon very intimate aspects of people, and app can help them in a very concrete way.
Absolutely.
That's why I stayed, and now we're a firm, we are doing pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very intimate, it's personal, it's a scary thing, right? We are scared from and a lot of people, when you're young, you make a little money, and then you grow in your career and you start to save money, and it comes that point where you're like, what should I do with this money? And it's a scary moment to invest. When you hear about financial crisis and people losing their money, it's a stressful thing. And so I'm really excited that we'll be getting the community more comfortable with connecting with you and people like you to get financial advice. Fernanda, I'm going to come to you a little bit. So tell us a little bit, how did you get into finance and your journey?
So at the beginning, I was working on real estate actually with my family. So my dad owns a real estate company. So I was working there, and I just wanted to change. I was at university at that time, and I knew I wanted to do something with finances. That's for sure, because I really like that. So I started to look at jobs there, and then just investigating a little bit about jobs. And then I got into financial planning. And the thing I liked about that is that you get to know a lot of people, you talk to people all the time, you have different problems all the time, because even though you do the same job for the people, people have different problems. So you see things in a different perspective all the time. Also, I'm very empathetic with clients, so that really helped me as well. That's something I really enjoy. So I continue my career there. I got trained in Mexico, then here, like different parts of the world, and it's kind of the same. It's just like you have to learn so many different things depending of where you are. But yeah, you just get to help people all the time.
Yeah. I love it. I love how everyone how so entrepreneur you are. And one of the things also when I think about this group, like great diverse group, but also all the languages that you speak, right? And all the people that you serve, and what a beautiful thing to be able to serve people in a language that they feel comfortable in, right? Especially talk only like you, I imagine Spanish, French, English,
Yes.
Chinese, like that's amazing, right? And I think that's also the power of diversity and having a diverse team to do that. So I want to jump a little bit and start talking about the role that you play. And one of the reasons, and when we were talking about this, I told you, like, I believe this is such important topic. It's because we see more and more people are getting tech jobs, and for the first time are reaching that financial sustainability, are able to save money and start really to think about the future. Also when you're an immigrant and you move here, which Canada rely on, and there's so many people that immigrate for jobs in tech, it's very new, right? I might have learned my system in France or in Morocco or in Mexico, but once you get to a new country, it's a whole new system. And it's like, well, how do you navigate it and how do you understand the language? So this is really amazing to get people more and more comfortable, even with the acronym. So I want to get into talking about why, kind of we touched a little bit about this, but I want to understand a little bit, like, what is financial advisor mean, right? What is that role do? And maybe Jeffrey, you can tell us a little bit, what is it that you do with people?
Yeah, so there's definitely a difference between financial planner and financial advisor in terms of the credentials and qualifications. You do need to have more education and pass certain exams to call yourself a financial planner.
Yeah.
So like I'll start with planner. So a financial planner basically is a personal finance professional, and this person is supposed to be a generalist that can analyze your current financial situation and to understand your stories and the priorities in your life, to define some specific goals that you want to achieve, like short-term, medium-term, long-term, and then make recommendations to help you to achieve those goals over time. So this is supposed to be a very dynamic process, meaning that when I see a client, this is just like at the moment your situation. Like it's supposed to be a long-term relationship. Like I should at least have like an annual review with you to see like how to track what is happening, and also if there are some major life changes. So for a financial advisor, so that was planner. So financial advisor is basically the same goals, meaning that to help you to achieve certain financial goals or to help you in different aspects of financial affairs. However, like usually the scope is a little bit more limited. Like it's usually specific to certain subjects, whereas like a financial planner is looking at the whole picture and to talk about different aspects of the financial like your financial situation. So that being said, so you may ask, like, when do you need a financial planner or when do you need a financial advisor?
You read my mind.
Yeah. So I think usually when you need a financial planner, is that when your situation is a bit more complex and you usually have a certain amount of assets already, or like a lot of people in the tech industry, like they have quite a bit of disposable income and they don't know what to do with it. So it's very important to talk to a planner or advisor to actually to allocate your assets in a way that makes sense to you and is tax efficient also. Where also for financial planners, advisors as well, like we can work with your accountants or lawyers or notaries if your situation is more complex in the sense that maybe you have multiple real estates, or some people like you have stock options, right? You have shares of different companies, or you're a business owner. So those are like the scope, like it's more like it's a how do I say it? It's like there are a lot of things to look at when you are in these situations, and a planner or advisor can help you with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And from what I get, you do personal finance, but you also work with entrepreneurs and businesses. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think like for the three of us, like we do have our own specialties, and for me, like I tend to work with business owners. So if you own a business, and maybe you have employees, or you have you have like different asset structures. Usually, it's my specialty, and I can help you with that.
Yeah.
And Fernanda and Julien are more focused on like personal finances, like if you're in the accumulation phase, you're trying to save more in your registered account. How do you do that? Like what kind of assets do you own? What kind of protection should you have? So we do have different focuses.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I'm an entrepreneur and I'm starting my business, when do I need to come and see you?
Julien, maybe you can answer that because you work with.
If you're an entrepreneur and you're starting your business, I would say that on a personal level, anyway, you should come see us like right at the beginning or even before, because when you start your business, or it's like when you buy a first house, for example, or first condo, if you're not set up on a personal level financially, then that's going to be a disaster, like whatever your project is, because you're not prepared, basically, and being prepared financially is the most important. So usually I will work with people at that moment, like before they start to do that kind of like creating their business, buying a house, etc. Then when you have a business and you generate money and you're more stable, then you will most likely work with a financial planner like Jeffrey, because you will work with Jeffrey, and Jeffrey will work with your lawyer and your accountant, and that will be like a whole group of people working for you on a personal level, but also for you as a company. I don't know if you see what I mean. Like,
yeah. No, absolutely. And I love that, right? I think when you're an entrepreneur, probably you might think a little bit more about your finances than on a personal level. But yet I still know a lot of entrepreneurs that, they venture in a business and they start, and it's sometimes a bit late when they think about it, and there's a lot of damage control that you need to do. So it's really important to consult with someone. And this is kind of bring me to the next question is, and Fernanda, maybe you can help us answer this question, is how do you select an advisor, a financial advisor?
So the most important thing about selecting an advisor is really have confidence, like that you feel good with him or her, someone really empathetic. Because since money, it's really like you don't talk about money or your personal situation about whoever. So it's definitely someone you can feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because you talk about your personal life, you talk about your personal finances, and you talk about like really, really delicate stuff. So so it's definitely has to be someone you feel good and comfortable with.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, really important, right? I think feeling comfortable with, it's like when you pick your therapist, right? You want to feel
exactly. It's the same thing.
You tell all your personal things. Finance is the same thing, right? So I love that, and it's really important. And
I just add one point. So I do think that, like you said, like if you find a therapist, you may want to try different therapists and then decide to have a long-term relationship. I think it's the same for advisors or planners. Like usually, like when you have especially with financial advisors, usually there's no obligations to continue the relationship. Meaning the first meeting is usually discovery meeting and the fit meeting. So you can first of all look at the credentials, if the person actually has the credentials to advise you, and also to see that from the way that he or she is asking you questions, like is it trying to understand you as a person or your situation, or this person is just trying to find ways to sell you something. So I think that's very, very important. Like when you work with a financial advisor or planner, especially if you're not very familiar with the financial world, it's very important to work with someone that actually think for you.
Yeah.
But like, sorry, I just want to add one more point as well, because I'm very excited about this. So like so usually like when you work with a financial planner with like a designation, there's usually a cost associated with it, meaning that like, for example, like if you do a complete like a plan with a planner, usually it will cost you like $1,000 to $2,500 plus taxes.
Yeah.
Some of them they charge by hour, between 100 to 150 per hour plus tax. So like I think part of the reason like we're really excited about this partnership is that like this is our way to give back to the community as well. And by being like a queer tech member, like we will, if you have a question or want to do a consultation, we will do it for free. But that's like we're really excited about this because like we can actually help the community.
Yeah, and I love that, right? I think it's really important, especially when people are new to this and getting started, that they get the right advice, and that's why I'm really excited for our partnerships and really connecting you with the community. And you know, this is kind of bring me also to the next question. I want you to kind of, and Jeffrey, maybe you can help us share a little bit more about your practice, your company, the history. So it just give people a little bit like who you are, how long you've been in business for.
Absolutely. So, the firm's name is Hao Financial Solutions. So it's actually my name in Chinese because there are regulations that we have to have the owner's name as part of the company in Quebec. So that's like, if you see like Hao Wu, it's not a food, it's not something, it's my name. So we're a young practice. Like we have been in the industry for 5 years, so we provide insurance, wealth, including investments, like workplace solutions, like group pension, and also financial planning services. So we are located in Montreal downtown, the office. Like it's like, you know, the Sun Life building. So it's very easy to find us. But we are also licensed in Ontario. And we are soon getting a British Columbia license as well. So we can actually, like the three provinces, we can all advise either in person or virtually. So as you see, we are very diverse in the sense that we can service clients in English, French, Spanish, and Mandarin. You already mentioned that. So I think that's very, very important because people tend to like feel much more comfortable to discuss finance in their mother tongue, like in their, even though if you are bilingual, some people like they prefer one language over the other, and they usually prefer the most comfortable language. And I think the 4 languages covers a lot of the population in Canada already. So I also, something very like I think that defines the practice is about the way we work. So when it comes to working with clients on financial planning needs, we really try not to only work on the numbers and projections because everyone can not everyone can do that, but if you have some trainings, you can do that. But it's also important to understand your hopes, fears, and complex circumstances by really taking time to talk about your life stories. So I believe like our roles as advisors or planners is not to really help you define your goals, but to really understand what is important to you and then educate you on the trade-off of your life decisions. So in this way, like you will make more informed choices in life, and you can internalize the advice we give because we try to advise you in a way that's like that's consistent with your values and the way you want your life to.
Absolutely, and I love it. You know, it's like you talk about the whole person, not just a piece of their life. It's like, let's talk about all of you. And you know, something that really I loved when you reach out and we started to talk about this, that also you serve a lot, you know, the LGBTQ community. You have an interest in supporting the community, and that's really important, right? Like a lot of the laws are also a bit different when you have a common law or same-sex marriage and stuff like that. And so navigating all that when it comes to finances is very important to understand that. So tell us a little bit, like, when did you decide that you also want to work with the community? Have you been working with the community, and how's that work?
Yeah. Julien, do you mind me answer first? I think you may
You can go.
Okay. So to be honest, like when I first joined the industry, I did not like really go full in the LGBTQ2+ community, because like at the time, like I feel like I was really trying to survive in the industry and to get to work on clients that I can work on. But later, I'm just realizing that like by being in the community myself, I have always been like, I feel much more connected to professionals in the community, because they understand my circumstances, and which allows me to bring my authentic self in front of them. And I feel much more comfortable in whatever process that we're talking about. So I think it's the same for a lot of individuals in the community when they talk to a financial planner. And I think like in the community, there's very little like self-claimed like financial advisors or planners in the field. So like we do see a need to actually help our community and to help it to break the barriers of building your wealth. So also like personally, like I grew up in a very loving family. So like I feel like I'm very, very lucky because I have a lot of allies, both in my personal and professional lives. And that they support me to be who I am, but not everyone is as lucky as I am. So when people are feared about sharing about who they are to strangers, a lot of times they would simply choose not to engage or flee. So that this is like we see that a lot. Like this is caused a lot of individuals in the LGBTQ2+ community barriers of making informed decisions, because they are not properly advised, because they just cannot bring their true self to the professional that they work with, right? So this in turn create barriers and creating and preserving wealth. Thus, I think that we really like the true essence of this partnership is we really want to be allies to the people in the community and make them very comfortable and respected in the whole process. And then they are more open to listen to the advice and actually follow them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's and as you mentioned earlier, it's really important for people to bring their whole self and share it with you, so you can advise them to the best of your ability, right? And that's really important. And they need to trust you to do that. And so that's really great. So it's really good. So I want to kind of touch base also on something that, we're talking to a tech community. And when we talk about tech, we talk about apps and tech companies, and we see more and more companies in fintech. And so, Julien, maybe you can help us answer this question in terms of understanding, how do people can navigate all these things, right? Robinhood is in the US, but there's Wealthsimple in Canada. There's so many more. There's, so many tools that people can use. And so how can people explore and navigate, evaluate this tool? What should they know about if they're looking at evaluating a tool to use? What is it, some of the things that they should be aware of?
Okay, so first thing, like I want to give just a note that legally we cannot, as a team here, we cannot advise on buying stocks directly. I cannot tell you should buy this stock of this company or this stock, etc. I wanted that to be clear, because I won't give advice, because we cannot do it, and I don't want any problems. We can advise on mutual funds, and that will be part of another webinar, like when we'll talk about investments. So that to be clear. So you're not disappointed that I don't give you like super good advice on what to buy today.
That's good to know.
That said, like I'm talking for myself, but I know a bit what Jeffrey and Fernanda thinks too. So we love the fact that investing becomes so easy, like that the stock market is basically accessible to everyone now. And us as new generations, like we kind of shuffling the cards a little bit in that industry. So that's pretty good for that. I like it, and I do use it myself. Like you talked about the apps, and I think it's great.
Yeah.
Now, being in tech, maybe you're excited about it, etc. That won't help you much when it's about like to sell and buy stocks or whatever. Like that's exciting, but the danger here is that it's so easy to sell and buy that it feels like, like going to the casino. Basically, you're gambling. Yeah. And that's a real danger, because starting to gamble on that, it's exactly the same that putting $5 in a slot machine and just wait for the jackpot. So let's be careful with that. It doesn't mean it's bad. And I'm not even talking about crypto here, because I know crypto is more tech related. In this case, you may have more, like as a techie or whatever, like you may have more inside information, and maybe you can make better choices. I'm really talking about stocks. For stocks, like when you use these apps, never use money, never invest money that you're not ready to lose first, especially if you don't know how
very well
invest,
said.
etc. So you have to be ready to lose the money. It's okay. Like Jeffrey said, we all I mean, not all, but a lot of people in tech, they have a lot of disposable income. You can take a little part of it and say, I will try to invest myself on that app in these companies. But that we can, like Jeffrey or Fernanda or myself, we can help you figure out how much you should maximum invest in that. And then you can deal with other stuff like mutual funds in RSPs, things that are more stable, that you will make money on the long term, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you said that, because this is a conversation that I have almost on a daily basis with people from the community, friends also. Like everyone is excited for crypto, and it's like you release the news and someone have made so much money trading this stuff, and people really feel like they're missing out. But it's a fake feeling, right?
You have to be so careful with that. Yeah, you want to go say something, Fernanda?
Exactly. Like people need to understand that it might be a fun thing to do for a little bit, but you have to be very careful that maybe once, like you said, go talk to a financial advisor, have your finance in order, and then you can know maybe, you know what? It's really fun to watch to
experiment,
also buy something and do that transaction. It was really fun, but you want to be careful that, okay, I'm gonna use this much money, and you might lose it. I mean, most of friends that I know that try trading or crypto have lost money. So let's be honest, like most of people, the majority of people end up losing money on it and not making money. It's only the good stories that you hear on the news, but that's the amplified, very little stories, right?
Exactly. That's if you let me say something, what happens there, it's people that doesn't know really much about stocks. What they do is they hear, oh, this stock is going up. So they say, oh, this is going up, then I'm going to buy it because it's going to, I'm going to get money because these people already got money, they gain money. So what happens? They buy the stock, and they buy the stock when it's already expensive. So then the stock is going to go down. So what happens with you people that don't know anything? Well, they get scared, so they take the money, so they lose. So that's what happened mostly all the time with people. Like they just get like, oh, they won, so I want to buy, and that's what happens. So
you heard about it in the news, it's already too late to buy. It's like
exactly.
Everyone already know about it.
Exactly.
But at the same time, like we're human. So it's what Fernanda was talking about. It's a typical behavioral finance or behavioral economics phenomenon, and we will cover in one of the webinars to talk about like how to be more disciplined about it. So but to answer this question, I just have one comment, is that there is a difference between investment and speculation. And a lot of times, like what you are doing with crypto, or like you invest a large portion of your asset into certain stocks, is pure speculation, period. It is a gamble, and it's not a wise thing to do that, especially if you have certain goals that need money for. If you are buying a condo in 1 year, then maybe you should not invest your money at all because you cannot afford the volatility. So that's like everyone has their unique situation priorities. That's what advisor or planner do, is to help you define them.
Absolutely.
And that's why you just to
go ahead.
Like that's why you have to learn. Like, and we are here for that. Like, all of us, we are here for that. I never say to anyone that I'm talking to, like any client, I never say, "Oh no, you shouldn't go to crypto. You shouldn't go to like investing in stocks by yourself." No, I'm not here for that. Like, you want to do it, you do it. But I'm here to help you understand how it's working, and if you can afford to do it. Because if you have no money on the side or whatever, and you're not set up, like you said, with your personal finance, then don't play. Like, you will end up even worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I'm very cautious of time, so I want to kind of touch base on a couple things before we close today. One, you know, we talked earlier, a lot of people in the community are going from, you know, survival mode to really in a situation where maybe they can start planning and think about it. And sometimes it take a while, right? I heard a lot of people who are like, you know, I have this much money in my savings and like I still don't know where to start. And I want to talk about what are, you know, because you work with the LGBTQ2 plus community, what are some of the like issues, challenges, problems that people in the community might typically face or need help with that maybe they should be aware of today, and they should start doing that financial planning. And maybe Jeffrey, you can help us with this question.
For sure. So I'm conscious of time as well, so I'm just gonna give you a very quick overview, and we will be more in depth in future sessions about this.
Absolutely.
So in terms of financial planning, I think we're very lucky we're in Canada, because in Canada the law and the taxation aspect, the planning aspects, to a large extent are the same for same-sex or heterosexual couples. So, but at the same time, there are some unique challenges that we see very often. Like, for example, a lot of the clients in the community, like myself, like Julien, like we are in like a common law relationships, and we're in the province of Quebec, so like we are under the civil law. So under the civil law is that if one spouse passed away without a legal will, then the common law spouse cannot legally inherit whatever the person like has. So this is the same for heterosexual couples, but it can be more problematic for us because sometimes, like very often, like we do have like a, how do I say it, like a challenging relationships with the family or relatives or whatever. So it can be very heartbroken to know that you build your wealth together or build everything together for years, even decades, and in the end, you cannot inherit anything by law. So it's always important to have an up-to-date will and power of attorney. That's super important. Another thing we often see that's unique to the community is that there are certain costs that are very unique to us. Like, for example, many people today, they adopt or they use surrogacy. That's very expensive. And also, like we've asked about like for example, like transgender surgery or like medications, if it is covered by the insurance or not. So those are certain things that is very specific to the community. And when we're talking about like those cash flow analysis, future analysis, and like future net worth analysis, those things need to be taken into consideration. And that is not part of like a usual heterosexual relationship, like the financial planning aspects. And lastly, very quickly, I do want to touch upon is that for older generation, like LGBTQ2 plus members, like I think maybe don't apply to most queer tech members, but a lot of them, they do have a first marriage with the heterosexual partner, and then they have kids. So is when it comes to financial planning, you need to have a conversation about family spending, protection needs, and also the estate planning in the end.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much for that advice. And I think there is a lot of things that people need to take in consideration. And this is why I'm excited for our next series to learn more and go in depth and we'll start collecting questions also from the community that we address. So we'll have some real life scenarios and questions that they have. Before we kind of jump into the next webinar, I want to talk about the webinar series. Also, are there any resources if someone is curious to get started? Are there any resources that you would recommend that they should go look at? I don't know if your blog is a good resource or other resources to kind of start learning about financial planning.
Absolutely. So first of all, we welcome you to add our LinkedIn. You can just search our names on LinkedIn and you can add us. So we, from time to time, we do post resources and it's like you can just access them directly. And also for me, I would really recommend you to look at McGill. Actually has a very cool personal finance course. It's online, it's free. I'm not affiliated with them or anyway, but I took it myself just to see what they are teaching, and it's very, very solid. May not be very specific to the community, but it's very, very well done. So because we're gonna do quarterly webinars moving forward, before or after the webinar, we will be sending the resources to you by email, or QueerTech will also post it on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and for those who are watching us today, you'll learn more about the different webinars that we have on our websites. We'll share it with the community when it's ready. But I want to talk about our next webinar. It's, because I'm really excited. We're going to be doing them in French and in English. September 21st at 1 p.m. Eastern Time will be the first webinar in English, and the second webinar will be in French on the 28th of September at 12 p.m. Jeffrey or Julien, do you want to tell us a little bit about what that first webinar is about?
Yeah.
You want me to?
I can quickly go and you can add on that. Yeah. So first of all, we do have multiple webinars already planned. So the topics are very varied. And it will be starting from the beginning course to more advanced courses. But we also see this partnership as very long term. So moving forward, we will also have more other things for you. But specific for the first one, it will be the topic is called planning and building your wealth. So basically it is a framework of financial planning, how to organize your personal finances to save more, grow your wealth, and to meet your unique financial goals. So I talk about the personal situation, single, couple, common law, married, how does that affect your financial planning, especially with respect to LGBTQ2+ community. We will also very kind of in depth to talk about the registered accounts. Most people, they start with RSP, TFSA. If you have children, you have RESP. So how to effectively use these accounts and how to determine how much to save in each account based on your cash flow. And lastly, we will also talk a little bit about how do you work with advisor and financial planner. So this way you have a very good and basic understanding of the overall framework, and then we will have different topics coming along.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I'm so excited for this webinar. Also for those who are watching us and for the community, you'll also have access to our financial advisors to book time with them. We will have all that information once we do our first webinar and you start kind of learning about your personal finances. You'll be able to connect with them. Thank you so much, Fernanda, Jeffrey, Julien, for joining us today and sharing your wisdom and all that information with the community. I'm so excited to be doing these series. I think it's so important for people to start thinking about their finances. It's a source of stress for people. It's a source of fear. And that's important to remove if we want to see the community thrive in their jobs and careers and not stress about finances. So thank you so much for today and for what yet to come.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So let me see.
Is the puppy coming?
Come here.
Now he doesn't want to come.
Oh my god.
He really wanted to be part of this conversation, little bear, huh?
This is the highlight of this whole
No,
Yeah.
and you're like, bring the little dog, bring him.
So cute.
So yeah, so you want to go? So yeah, just to close, thank you again so much for joining us. I hope that everyone have learned so much about your personal finances, and we'll be getting started. Again, mark your calendar. September 21st, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll have the first webinar, and the French version will be on September 28th. Again, I want to thank RBC for presenting this series, and also all our partners for helping us with this series, Unity Technologies, Ubisoft, Banhack, SpaceSafe, and Local Logic. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and our goal is to tell more stories about queers and queers in tech and help you with your finances. And so if you love what we do, you can always donate to QueerTech on queertech.org. You can also recommend a guest speaker for us. You can either email me, or we have a form on our website under the QT Connect Café. Our next episode will be on September 9. As you see, we'll be skipping one episode at the end of this month because we are all taking some break and going on vacation. Well-deserved vacation from this year. So I hope that everyone also will get a chance to take some time off and recharge before the either you're going back to school or work starts again. And so I will see you all on September 9 at noon. Thank you again to our guests, and thank you everyone for following us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.